today. This is our exploration of the symbol of the serpent Da. The serpent Da. And it's a great coincidence that this is the symbol that governs our present Itadogun, because we are also in the process of launching the course, the intro to Vodun spirituality, with our good brother Agbayano. And the reason why I'm highlighting that particular coincidence is because the serpent Da, like all of the symbols, actually, all of the symbols that we use during our Itadogun cycles are Dahomian symbols. The tradition of the symbols does not come out of the Yoruba tradition. It comes out of the Fon Eve tradition, which is the Vodun tradition. And so this is a part of the practice that I was introduced to really at the beginning. And it's just by accident, I suppose, because I'm from the Bay Area. And in the Bay Area, we are proud to hail from the eldest African-American Babalawo, whose name was John Turpin, better known as Fagbemi Ogundele. And he was a tremendous scholar and sincere and devout practitioner who somehow got exposed to the Dahomian tradition early, right? And so he would, given that he was a scholar, we all have our notebooks. And if you were in the Bay Area back in that day, in the late 90s, early 90s, I should say, not the early 90s, mid 90s, no, even up to the late 90s, yeah. You would have gotten photocopies of Fagbemi's notebooks. And so in those notebooks, he has detailed some very deep insights from the Dahomian tradition, and these symbols are one of them. So I don't want to go all into the full breakdown of the work of Fagbemi, but hopefully it will be done sometime in the not too distant future, because we really owe a lot to Fagbemi. And one of his contemporaries, who is Meta Hochi. I think Meta Hochi may have been a little younger than Fagbemi, but they're age mates though. It's a matter of a couple of years. But Meta Hochi went straight Dahomey. He where Fagbemi went more to the Yoruba side, Meta Hochi went more to the Dahomey side. But anyway, we got our hands on these notes, and that informed our practice to varying degrees. I personally was very much taken by the insights that were in these notes, and I followed up on them. And so in more recent years, when I've started going back and visiting Dahomey, I've had opportunity to refresh my understanding and revisit some of the concepts and clarify my understanding of how things work. Now, the reason why this matters from a practical perspective, why I've introduced this into our practice, is twofold. There's two reasons why it's important that you're familiar with things like these symbols, and it's important that you understand that these symbols are from the Fon tradition. Number one, there are certain elements in the Fon tradition that are articulated more clearly or more definitively than in the Yoruba tradition. So the two traditions are like imagine there's, two siblings from one family, same mother, same father, you know what I mean? But they're two siblings, and um, they inherit the same thing, but what they do with it is different. They have their own worldview and they have their own way of being in the world, and so it ends up looking and feeling slightly different depending on which sibling you talk to. And then, have you ever had that experience where one sibling, you've been hanging out with him, he's your boy or whatever, that's your girl, and then you meet them with their family. And when you see them with their family, it's like, oh, I get it. There's a whole bunch of you guys, and you're just this part of the equation, but it's like they all go together. Everyone has the same elements, but they manifest in different ways. And so that is my experience with encountering the Dahomean tradition in West Africa. It is very, very much the same as the Orisha tradition, but it is very, very much not the same as the Orisha tradition. There's some very real differences between how they approach things and how they do things. And so my experience is that there are certain elements in the Dahomean tradition that are expressed in a very definitive way that makes sense to me personally. And I find that they also make sense to other Western practitioners, other African Americans in particular. 99.9% of the people that I've worked with have been African American. So all my case studies, etc., my points of reference are generally about what has worked with other, Black folks around the country. These symbols being one of those elements. Another thing that you'll find, for example, in my writings, if you go back to the fundamentals, for example, in the fundamentals of Orisha lifestyle, the idea of the sponsoring ancestor is conceptually, the Yorubas understand the idea. You tell them, yes, I have my ancestors, but there's an ancestor that's like with me. Oh yeah, everyone will, they'll understand the concept and the idea and the reality of that, but they don't necessarily have a name for it. They don't necessarily have a series of rituals and ceremonies that you do to engage that particular ancestors. Whereas in the Fon tradition, that is how it is. The Joto is a particular facet of ancestral reverence, and there's specific things that you look for relative to the Joto when you do divination. There's specific things that you want to control for. If the Joto is doing too much, there's certain things that you want to do. If the Joto is not doing enough, there are certain things that you want to do. Okay, and so that's the one reason why this particular understanding is important. The other reason is partially because we have this we have a hybrid African identity here in the Americas. We have a hybrid African identity. What do I mean? Well, in Yoruba land, everybody's Yoruba. Your mama's a Yoruba, and your daddy is Yoruba, and your granny is Yoruba, and your great granny is Yoruba, and your grandfather, and your great grandfather, and your great great great. Everybody is Yoruba. All your cousins, all your aunts, all your uncles, everybody, your neighbors. Man, Yoruba land is vast. When you go to Yoruba land and you just sit there in a place and you look out and you see tens of thousands of people, and oh my God, all these people are Yorubas. They're not just Nigerians. They're not just from this area. No. All these people are Yoruba people, and they've been here for generations. Whoa. So that shapes your points of reference for what is real and what's possible and how things happen. For us, that hasn't been the case. Maybe, no, not even maybe, definitely, you're gonna have people from different ethnic backgrounds in your lineage. And we would talk about the fact that, oh yeah, well, I got French, or I got Choctaw, or I got this. But you don't think about the fact that you got Mende, and you got Bamileke, and you got Bakongo, and you got Fong in your lineage. So all of the sensibilities and all the worldview that are part of those ethnic identities, those have been passed down to you one generation after another. And there's certain subtleties and that characterize your family, that characterize your lineage and the worldview and the particular perspective that your family has. You need to understand and respect that some of that is cultural. Some of that has been passed down. You've inherited those things, just like recipes, just like an aesthetic. You have an aesthetic. There's something, the way that your mother would put things on the counter. There's a way she would hang the clothes. There's a way that your father would do certain things. There's a certain way that he would organize his tools. Those are all things that are go into programming you. And you need to be sensitive to those little details. So when I look and I say, okay, we're practicing Orisha lifestyle, and more explicitly how can I say, the traditions that really inform what we do are Oshogbo, Egba, and a little bit of Ibadan, right? And so that part, you need to understand that there's nothing from Ondo. There's none of the Ifa that we're working comes from Ondo. Nothing that we're doing is from Ekiti. Nothing that we're doing is even from Ile-Ife. Nothing that we're doing is coming from way up north in the Akwara and Ilorin, and none of that. Nothing is Ketu. I'm not bringing any Ketu tradition into what we're practicing here. Nothing. The overwhelming majority of everything that you hear and do here is coming from a particular set of Yoruba traditions. Egba, Oshogbo, Ibadan. That's it. Okay? And so that's going to give you a pattern and a framework. But then there are going to be some instances wherein perhaps the way we're approaching things doesn't quite explain everything that you see, or we're not quite articulating everything that you experience, right? And I don't want you to discount the subtleties of your experience, but I also don't want you to go looking off the ranch for other explanations. So once upon a time, people would have gone to Hindu traditions or Buddhist traditions, or this is the whole New Age approach. People couldn't find chakras in the Orisha tradition, so they started just sticking them together. Oh yeah, this Orisha is this chakra, and this Orisha is this chakra, and this Orisha and this chakra. No, it's not. The Orisha don't have anything to do with chakras at all. There's anybody who tells you that is just going out of their way to confuse you and everybody else. There is absolutely no correlation between Orisha and chakra. But you may know in your heart that there is something happening in the body that is integral to your tradition. You know that, hey, I feel something. And I feel things at certain times. And there's certain ways that I go about maximizing those feelings. What is it? Well, this is where you start to use your filter to scan other aspects of the West African indigenous knowledge systems. Perhaps some of what you're experiencing is coming from your Congo ancestry, your Congo sensibilities. And in your Congo sensibilities, it's more in the body. It's something that you need to move through and feel in order to manifest. And you just don't have the opportunity to do that as an Orisha devotee, or particularly as an Ifa devotee. We're not really focusing on movement, right? So part of it is helping you gather the tools that you need and the techniques that you need to learn how you learn your spiritual reality. I want you to have the tools and the techniques and the sensibility to learn how to learn your spiritual reality. That's part of my duty as your teacher. It's not just about the content, but how do you learn math, for example? See, as your teacher, I'm gonna present you with the concepts. We're gonna do division, we're gonna do multiplication, we're gonna do fractions, we're gonna do this. That's my job, is to show you the content that we're working with and to break it down for you in a methodical way. But the real thing that I'm trying to do as your teacher is I'm trying to help you identify what's happening with this math so you can learn how you learn math. Maybe you learn math with images. Maybe you learn math through sounds. Maybe you learn math through motion. Somehow math occurs to you as colors or tastes. You need to figure that out for you so that you can translate and start putting all of the different things in place so that when you get introduced to new math concepts, you can apply the techniques that you know work for you. Not for you to use the techniques to create something else and go off and making up your own little religion. No, how do you use everything that you have within yourself to learn to practice our religion? How do you bring everything that you have to bear on carrying out the functions and the activities associated with our tradition? That is part of the goal. That's part of the reason why we have these symbols, right? And part of the reason why we use the symbols, particularly to incubate our dreams. Okay? We use these symbols to incubate our dreams because this is what is going to help you learn how you learn your spiritual reality. Okay? So here we are, and we are looking at our symbol, which is the serpent Da.